Welcome. I'm excited to have you guys here. I think we have a monsoon here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I don't know about the rest of the country, but we are having so much rain today. I'm glad I got here safely. Glad you got here safely too, Pete.
Yes, I did. I was here this morning.
So I have Pete Prasad here with me today.
1 second. Okay, there we go.
And
We're live now.
there
Hi.
you are. Hi, Pete.
Yeah, monsoon. Yeah, back came this morning about 10:30.
Yes.
Oh, boy. Monsoon. I couldn't see for maybe about 20 feet in front of me. But here we are. I got it. Did my show this morning. So here we are.
Well, and I have a topic today that's dear to my heart. I am talking about dementia and Alzheimer's and those, and Pete he's worked on that for a long time and worked with people in that field. But I also have Dr. Jane Mullins from Cardiff, UK on the line, and she is a specialist with memory loss. And I want to call it memory loss because, dementia sounds so, it sounds like such a big word and sounds so severe. But really, most people that I meet say, I'm scattered, I am forgetful, I have a bad memory. And then we have all the kids with ADD that struggle all the time. And so if you look at it, really, most of the population struggles with a form of dementia. And Dr. Jane Mullins, are you on the phone?
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, and do you agree that most people struggle with some dementia?
I think that's a bit of an interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
I might have to be a little bit controversial there because...
Please do.
Not everyone who has dementia actually struggles with memory straight away. There are some types... I know a lot of people seem to associate the condition with memory problems, but actually that isn't necessarily how it presents often early on. It can affect people's ability to their language skills, to be able to express themselves, to be able to understand what is being said to them. It can affect their what they can see, what they're able to see in their environments around them. Can make them quite disorientated in time and place. Can basically affect their ability to problem solve and to reason. But yes, often memory can be affected, but I think we need to try and let people understand that, there are certain dementias, as in what we call frontotemporal dementia, where actually language is often one of the first things that people notice that they struggle with. So yes, a contentious issue there.
Well, no. I do understand because actually the term dementia, there's a decline that's happening and there's a rate of decline and there's a certain amount before they call it dementia. And I've heard doctors say dementia doesn't set in until the 70s or 80s usually. But I do think that a lot of people struggle and they worry kind of in the back of their mind about, is this the beginning of Alzheimer's because I'm so forgetful? And I know for me, I had about when I was in grad school, I was a top athlete, and I was training. I was on a pretty strict diet, and with some top trainers, and I started losing my memory. And I looked great, and I felt great, but I started and I didn't tell too many people, but I was becoming very forgetful. I would forget to pick up my kids. I would end up in places way past my exit. And
right.
it was, I would lose spans of time. I had somebody show me a journal that I had written, supposedly, and I just swore it wasn't me. I didn't remember writing any of it. And so it became to the point when the movie Finding Nemo came out, my family said, "Oh, you're Dory." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not that bad." And they're like, "Yeah, you are." And I never believed them. But over time, the trainers, we found out what was missing from my diet. And so we started adding stuff back in and doing all this extra stuff. But it took a really long time. And so I just really have compassion for people that start losing their memory and don't know where they are and end up in places. But also my behavior began to change. My behavior changed, and I was acting in ways I never acted before or I thought I would act before. So I do somewhat relate, and I feel compassion for these people. And I know that you have been working with these patients and working with dementia, people who struggle with dementia for like 25 years, right?
Yes, yeah, in various capacities. I think, can I just quickly say something, because I think it's interesting what you brought up, because I'm really sorry what you experienced. There are some conditions that can affect memory, that can be reversible, such as vitamin B12 deficiency. So I'm wondering if that might be what was happening with you a little bit. Some hormonal changes, thyroid disease, and of course stress can also affect people's memories. So I'd certainly, if somebody was concerned, like you've been, I'd certainly speak to your doctor first and ask them to take some blood samples and to sort of rule out any other things that it could be.
So you are very familiar with those other kinds of memory issues, it sounds like.
Well, I worked in a couple of memory clinics, and that's where we'd sort of we'd screen people. I used to run a self-referral memory clinic in the community where people such as yourself, struggling and worried about memory, would come to the clinic, and I'd listen to their history, do a few sort of what we call cognitive tests, and then we'd sort of take it from there. Depression can actually have an impact on memory as well. So a lot of people that I saw actually were quite depressed or had some sort of hormonal imbalance. So then, we'd say, go back to your doctor, sort that out, get that righted. If the problems still continue, then to come back, really. So, and sometimes, yes, we may have seen people who were in their 40s and 50s that actually may later on have gone on to develop dementia. We are sort of realizing that actually dementia can start sort of quite early on. And of course there are, early onset types of dementia too, where people under the age of 65 can develop it. So.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Mullins, my name is Pete Prasad. I am from British Guyana, South America. Now it's Guyana.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. We've sort of had a bit of monsoon weather in Wales, in the UK as well.
Right now? Oh,
so I think it's coming over to us.
Yeah, well, it's because of that hurricane, Michael, man. Michael is creating havoc in the U.S. and also, it's coming that way also up to the UK. So lots of wind. But anyway, I'm intrigued by, I'm understanding that you do treat a dementia patient up in the UK.
Well, some people are, yes.
Yes.
There's some medications available.
Yeah. And also
they certainly don't cure the condition.
Yes.
They may actually slow down the deterioration of some people.
So what is your background? What is your medical background?
I'm a nurse, actually.
Oh, you're a nurse. So you're not a physician.
Yes,
okay.
I'm a memory clinic nurse.
Memory care nurse. Okay.
Hospitals,
okay,
care
very
homes.
good.
But
Very good.
I've got a doctorate. I've got a Ph.D.
Okay, very good,
I'm
very
working with
good.
people with dementia.
Awesome. Well, as a respiratory care practitioner in the United States, I do deal with a lot of dementia patients and also any type of patients with any respiratory issues, from asthmatics to general surgery. I don't do surgery, but also I do bedside tracheostomy with the assistance of a pulmonologist and also a surgeon that used to do those things. Now, my question with dementia...
Wide knowledge.
Yes, as a nurse for dementia patient, I know it's a loss of memory, but in terms of medication, what are some of the medications you're treating in England there for dementia patient for loss of memory? I know it's... I work at nursing homes also consulting for those type of patients. Loss of memory leads to Parkinson's and any type of neurological disease you might have. Just to describe as a nurse the sound downing syndrome of dementia patient. When they have sound downing, what is that exactly for the people listening to Anne's show here in the United States and across the world through Facebook?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch your last sentence.
Yeah, the sound downing.
Yeah.
Yes. Just explain that from a nurse perspective.
Okay. For a lot of people who aren't aware of this, the term sundowning, and there's a lot of controversy over this term as well, actually. Often people who have dementia may become a little bit more agitated and disorientated later on in the afternoon as the sun is going down. This, again, isn't always the case either, and I think we are sort of trying not to... everybody is different who has dementia. It affects everybody differently, but there are some common themes that come up. So, for instance, somebody may be starting to get a little bit disorientated, a little bit distracted at that time of day. We're not quite sure why. I think there's probably a lot more research being done looking at melatonin levels in people's bloods. But I think also what I'm realizing, and I would like to see more of, is a lot of people who have dementia with in care homes don't actually get outside in the fresh air and daylight very often. And I think there may be some sort of correlation there. People need to be out in nature and to see in proper daylight, and then that might actually improve whether they get sundowning or their sleep patterns as well. But again, it's a huge subject. There are so many different types of dementia, which could really, I know people who have Lewy body dementia may have more problems with sleep than other people. So it's very difficult to sort of discuss all this in a nutshell. So to speak.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We come to a commercial break. Thank you much.
Hey, Dr. Mullins, we'll be right back. You guys stay right here, and Dr. Mullins is going to talk about just memory issues. Thank you.
Life Solutions Coaching and Counseling in Hazlet, Texas is a full-service wellness clinic providing individual, group, and family counseling, one-on-one coaching for life and wellness, and naturopathic treatments of medical massage therapy combined with essential oils to ensure you reach your health and wellness goals. Sessions are available in person or by phone. Get started on your new life today. Just call 817-232-1363 or go to LifeSolutionsCoachingandCounseling.com or email them at lifesolutionscc@yahoo.com.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
800-871-3291. 800-871-3291. Again, that's 800-871-3291.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-574-3549. That's 800-574-3549. Again, 800-574-3549.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBBT.
Welcome back. I have Dr. Jane Mullins. She actually wrote the book, Finding the Light in Dementia. And one of the things that her heart is really passionate about is people who have dementia, they often just kind of get put aside. It's hard to communicate with them if they have Alzheimer's. And she really has her passion, and her Ph.D. is in exploring multi-sensory ways to reconnect with people that struggle with dementia. And so, Jane, I wanted to ask you, when you work with people who have, that are caring for Alzheimer's family members, whether it be a daughter or a spouse, it is hard not to kind of discount them because you can't communicate very well with them anymore.
I can understand why people feel like that very much, because certainly dementia can affect someone's ability to communicate over time. They may struggle to find their words. Everything slows down a bit, so they take a lot longer to process information and a lot longer to respond. But I do feel, and I know from all my experience, that there is always some way that we can communicate and connect with the person. And it may not be through speech and language over time, but I've found certainly music is a wonderful, wonderful way to try and communicate with people. And in fact, I've come across many, many people who have struggled to speak and to get their words out, and then we'll put some music on, excuse me, and with the music and movement, we'll start to sing, and the words will come out.
Well, and I think communicating through music is, a lot of people do that anyway. So you've really seen that they come alive in a way?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Also, with the work I did with my Ph.D., I was looking at using all the senses in different ways. So with the subject that we were looking at was reminiscing over holidays, and so we were making films together, so putting sounds together with their photographs, getting holiday memorabilia together, the smells of sun cream, foods, anything that's associated with those memories. There is a way we can connect and get through to the person. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat.
What was it that gave you this passion to really pursue trying to communicate with these people?
I think it really does go back to when I was a little girl, actually. Basically, my story begins with remembering my grandfather. He was a veteran of the First World War who served at Gallipoli. And when he returned from the war, which many people didn't, and during his adult life, he became an opera singer. He was a bass baritone, and he had the most beautiful voice. Now, I don't remember any of that at all. My memories of him were as a paralyzed man, bedbound and unable to speak, following a number of strokes. And I just remember his frustration with not being able to get his voice heard, not being able to get his words out. And it would affect his very being. His whole body would stiffen and he'd cry out, but you couldn't understand what he was saying. But when my sisters and myself, and we were very young kids at this point, would go in and we'd go to sit on his bed, he'd start singing to us. And he'd actually sing nursery rhymes and the old arias, and all the words would come out. So from a person who couldn't get those words out at all to then, once we had rhythm and melody and music, a lot of the words were able to come out. So I certainly think, there are areas that we connect to, and music certainly does connect to our emotional selves. Our emotional memory is in a very different part of the brain to other aspects of our memory. So I certainly think that if we can connect through someone's emotions, through the senses, that's a way in. That is certainly a way in. And even with people who've had quite severe dementia towards the end of their lives, I've always managed to get I've always found there is something there, somehow. And I really do feel strongly about that, and would like to try and reassure people that when they think they're not there anymore, they are. It's finding different ways to connect with them.
It's amazing, Dr. Mullins. I applaud for what you're doing for these folks who, in terms of their memory loss. It's amazing. You go through life doing all these things, and you depend as you continue this beautiful journey of life. Your memory of all the memories you do as a childhood, and eventually, as you get older, you tend to lose it. Now, at what age group are you treating, ma'am, as a nurse and as a doctor of this awesome disease? I'm sorry, awful disease. I'm sorry. What age group?
It is an awful disease. There's no doubt about that. Let's be honest, it is. And I try to look at all the positivity, and Finding the Light, my book, is very much about finding positive ways to actually help both the person who's got the dementia and their families. So it's about, when you say treatment, I'm not talking medical treatment here. I'm talking more about if we can understand what the person's experiencing in the world through, because they may struggle to be seeing what's around them, we can then start to look at how we can help them. One of the biggest problems is often caregivers don't really understand what their partners or loved ones are going through. They may not realize that, for instance, they may not want to walk into a room because there's what the person may be seeing is a big black hole on the floor when it's actually a rug.
Right, absolutely. Well, Doc, we're coming to a commercial break. I'll let Ann take over. Okay.
That's okay.
Thank you, Jane.
That's okay.
When you stay right here, because we do want to talk about what you can do to help these people get better. And that's part of what the show's about, is getting better. And there's lots of things in your book, lots of tools for parents and caregivers. And so stay right here.
To look 10 years younger? At Total Med Solutions, we have solutions to help you look and feel great. Try our Botox special with 20 units for only $173, or replace your lip volume that you've lost over the years with a 1 milliliter syringe of Juvederm dermal filler for as little as $389.
Do you want to lose 10, 20, even 100 pounds? Ask the experts at Total Med Solutions, where they provide physician-supervised prescription weight loss solutions for as little as $199 for a 30-day program.
Are you tired of shaving? Come to Total Med Solutions, where you can get beach ready with laser hair removal starting at only $99 for 6 sessions. All laser hair procedures are done on the latest Almo Soprano ice machines that work great for all skin types.
Call Total Med Solutions at 972-992-5040 to schedule your appointment. Consultations are always free.
Just check it out. Again, that number is 972-992-5040.
Are you taking Viagra and tired of paying $50 per tablet? Marley Drug has generic Viagra for just $10 per tablet. $10 for generic Viagra is a savings of $40 per dose. Call now and get free shipping on 10 tablets or more of generic Viagra. Marley Drug is a North Carolina pharmacy licensed in all 50 states. For information, go to marleygenerics.com or call us at 800-515-3062. That's 800-515-3062.
The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs.
You do not want to leave Talladega in a hole heading to Kansas.
Race 5 in Talladega.
The playoff field racing very closely together.
Where championship dreams.
Joey Logano trying to make it 3 wide.
Ride on the razor's edge.
And here's the big one. The pack is flying apart.
The 1000lightbulbs.com 500.
Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr.
Sunday at 1 p.m. on the Motor Racing Network.
Don't miss the 1000bulbs.com 500. Later today at 1 p.m. on 1160 a.m. KBDT.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
You're getting better all the time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 a.m. KBDT.
Welcome back. Miss Jane Mullins, she is a specialist with dementia. We were just wanting to know if you are a caregiver or you worry that you could be suffering from dementia. What are some things, Jane, that you would have them do? And I know that your book has a lot of great tips in it, Finding the Light in Dementia. If you would like to find that book, just go to the website, findingthelightindementia.com. Jane?
Yeah?
Can you tell us some good things that would help them? I know there's a lot.
Okay. Right, yeah, where do I start? Okay, basically looking at communication, so we sort of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of it is taking time, and it's very hard, I know, as a caregiver, but it's to take time, stand back, and think about the meaning behind someone's behavior may be changing. And that might be very much because the person is scared, they're frightened, they feel they're losing a bit of touch, they're not able to communicate so well.
Right.
So it's about having some patience being aware that they may not understand what you're saying, so again, very much taking time. We can, when we're looking at memories, perhaps we certainly can involve I would certainly involve lots of other people if you can. Get out there in your communities. There are a lot of memory cafes out there these days, and there are choirs for people with dementia, forget-me-not choruses. There are sporting memories. I would certainly get in touch with your local Alzheimer's or dementia charity to see what's available in your area, because one of the worst things you can do is stay isolated and withdrawn at home, definitely. So involve other people. Certainly get families, if you buy my book, get them to read it as well. And maybe also in Finding the Light, I've also got a sort of journal where people can write into it and look at triggers for what's happening. So you may see that perhaps your partner or loved one is getting a bit stressed and agitated at certain times. There may be reasons for that. So if you can find patterns to that, that can help a lot. Certainly it's very important to care for yourself as the caregiver. If I can give a little example from my book as well, one of the chapters is called Creating a Calm, Safe Home.
Yes.
Because I mentioned earlier, people may not be seeing like we see normally. They may be having problems with their perception. I'll read you, I've got a few little sort of caregiver stories in my book as well, just short ones that help you understand. But this was written by David, who was caring for his wife. Jackie started getting really upset when she looked in the bathroom mirror. She started shouting at herself and pointing angrily. It took me ages to realize that she didn't recognize herself. The nurse told me that she might not recognize herself, and she may actually remember a younger version of her face. It broke my heart. Is this really what can happen? I realized it was better to get rid of the mirror, not to upset her, but I still needed to shave. So in the end, I fitted a blind over it and kept it covered, so when she was in the bathroom, she didn't have to see it, but I could roll it up when I needed to use it. So it's sort of lots of little tips from other caregivers that sort of can give some really good ideas for what people can do. Another thing, bearing in mind that the person may not be seeing so well, is on the plate with your food, the food needs to be a contrasting color to the plate. So if you've got patterned plates, that might be very confusing for the person. They may not actually be able to recognize the food. So I'd certainly say perhaps a plain blue plate is quite a good idea.
Because you're saying that their vision can change, right?
Yes, yeah. Not everyone, but very often it can, yes.
That's really
so they may not be seeing, they may be not wanting to go into a room because there may be a line across the carpet that might stop them because they're not actually seeing things properly, and there's a fear over where they're stepping. They may not be able to see light switches. If the wall is white and the light switch is white, it's very difficult to see that. Contrasting colours around the house, and certainly in toilets. If there's a toilet seat which is white and the floor is white and the wall is white, it would be very difficult to distinguish, to see where they need to go. So there's sort of lots and lots of tips in the book about this to explain what the person is how they're experiencing the world, and then we've got much more of an idea of what we can do to help them then.
Well, I think realizing that what they're experiencing is very different than what you think they're experiencing. Because I know I thought I knew a lot about it, and then I read your book, and I was very surprised in a lot of ways how much it reminded me of some things I went through on a much smaller level, and kind of how I felt. And I think that if people tried to imagine, but you had a lot of really good things, like to explain a lot of, it tells me a lot about that you've worked with them and maybe talked with them a lot, because you really have their perspective in the book, which I've never read anything like that before.
Oh, well, thank you. I think it's so important, because once we can understand what they may be experiencing, it can certainly help us get into their shoes, and we'd all probably be quite frightened, quite agitated if you feel that your control of life is slipping away and people start doing things for you and you're not able to make decisions anymore. And we can actually, we're seeing more and more researchers showing that over time people can actually contribute to the dementia without meaning to, because we end up doing so much for the person, or perhaps it's too much effort to try and communicate. That person may withdraw, whereas, if we can use sort of activities, creativity, art, it doesn't have to be brilliant. I tell you, the best people to actually help are children. You bring I'm not sure what's happening in the US, but in the UK there's at the moment we're hearing a lot about care homes opening up and having nurseries in their care homes, creches. So the children naturally, they come in and they don't have any preconceived ideas or anything, and they go in and they're with the people who've got dementia in the care homes. They may be working with paints, all sorts of things, but they're working on an emotional and a sensory level as opposed to a thinking level, and there's so much positivity around that work. We can actually learn a lot from just watching kids, actually, where we're not overthinking things too much. Go with the flow, follow your gut instinct, really.
Well, they do. They come alive with children around, and I wonder why that is.
I think it's probably because there's no threat, maybe. There's no threat to have some deep, intense conversation. You don't actually have to speak so much. You might just have to, if they throw a ball or play with some clay, or, it's about still being able to, again, communicate and connect, but not on a level where the person is struggling to speak or to understand what's being said sometimes. So it takes away all those pressures that the person might be experiencing. And usually around children there's a sense of joy, and I think that's really important. If we can, it's about sensing the world now as opposed to just thinking. And I think that's probably why I've always enjoyed working with people with dementia, because they've brought out a lot of creativity in myself, and, I'm a very big advocate, if you can, to be out in nature with your loved one and to just sense the wonderful world that's around us, without always having to talk, without always having to think. And I think that's something we need to be looking at, really, is the sensory side of things.
That's amazing there, Dr. Mullins, in terms of what you're doing, for the memory loss. Also, I know there's been studies out there where memory could be recovered, right? What are your thoughts about that? Recovering a bit of memory.
Well, there is something called rementia, which we've been looking into, and I think part of that is because we're realizing that in the past we have ignored people, and actually we are finding if we follow certainly the tips in my book, it'll be interesting to see that people may not deteriorate so quickly as they would have done. Again, I haven't actually done any actual scientific research on this, but anecdotally I've definitely seen this a lot, is people come to life. They certainly need to rest as well, because their brains are working far, far harder to keep up, but certainly keep people stimulated and motivated, and the sense of joy. A lot of people who have dementia also have depression, but it's not treated, and it's often ignored. And sometimes, the dementia can mask the depression, or the depression can mask the dementia. So again, because there are similar symptoms there. So again, if we can try and connect on a more sensory level, nature. I'm quite a spiritual level, really. I'm quite a spiritual person, and if we can be connecting with people through other ways, I certainly have always found a lot of positivity. And in fact, when I managed the care home a number of years, it was a thriving, happy place, because we were just finding out all about the people we were caring for. So what's really important is we know as much as we can about their past lives, good and bad things, so that we can perhaps act on some of their positive memories, but be aware if they've got some negative memories as well, and create life histories, memory boxes. Visual props are very, very good. One example I have is of a lady who used to try and bring her husband to a forget-me-not group. It's like a dementia cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And she was always very stressed trying to get him to come because he couldn't actually visualize where she meant they were going, and they used to go every week. He couldn't visualize, he couldn't understand what she was saying. But when he got there eventually, he used to love playing pool. There was a big pool table, and so what I suggested to her was to get a pool or a snooker cue at home, so that when she was trying to explain to him where they were going, she could bring that out. And he knew straight away then. And so he would be fine. He knew where he was going. It's like having props around the house. Again, visual prompts and things, because he couldn't understand the words. So it's sort of lots of bits of advice and little tips, and I've learned so much from other caregivers over the years about what's worked and what doesn't work. So, and as I say, everybody, so it's trial and error a lot of the time.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, I'm heavily into sports. Yeah, we're having sports. And also CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, with kids playing football at Pee Wee League. And I've got some good friends of mine who are Super Bowl champion for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're 45 years old with early signs of dementia. So again, you have to be very, very careful with this. The era of they're so competitive. These kids growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're seeing a lot of that in the UK. There's a lot of concern over footballers over here with head injuries. And
absolutely.
Again, we're learning more and more as we go along, aren't we? In this sort of 30 years I've been working in the field, we understand so much more.
Yes, ma'am.
Because there's been a lot more research actually listening to people about their experiences, so it's not just research being done on them, it's being researched from them, so we're understanding from their experiences.
Yes, ma'am, that is so true. And
well, and Jane, I think that I sent you some things that Dr. Joe Wallach does as far as working with trying to improve the memories when people have dementia and Alzheimer's, and you probably didn't get time to look at it. I'd love to get you back on, though, when you have time to go through all that, and maybe even try it. That would be so cool, because you mentioned B vitamins. I know he's talked about butter and cream, putting the fat back in the brain, and the eggs for cholesterol, getting the eggs back in, the cholesterol back in the brain.
It's very interesting, because I see a healer who talks about exactly the same things, is that we're stripping brains of cholesterol. So yes, I'm quite interested in that side of things very much.
I like that. That's a healer.
But I say I don't know any of the research in that area. Certainly know that there's a huge link between eating and chronic illnesses, diet and chronic health. So again, and within my book I talk a lot about tips about eating and drinking, because that can be a bit of a problem with people with dementia. So in terms of they may actually often develop sweet tooth, or they may not want to eat at all, or they may binge eat. So there's lots of sort of tips in the book about what we can do there as well. But certainly I'm very interested in diet and health overall.
Well, and stay right here. When we get back, we're going to have just a little bit more about that, so you can know what you can do if you have the beginnings of dementia, or some things you can do. There are tips in her book that help you, especially about sleep and things like that. So stay right here.
Life Solutions Coaching and Counseling in Hazlet, Texas is a full-service wellness clinic providing individual, group, and family counseling, one-on-one coaching for life and wellness, and naturopathic treatments of medical massage therapy combined with essential oils to ensure you reach your health and wellness goals. Sessions are available in person or by phone. Get started on your new life today. Just call 817-232-1363 or go to LifeSolutionsCoachingandCounseling.com or email them at lifesolutionscc@yahoo.com.
Want a great deal on a great car? Come to Central Auto House. Smart car buyers know that a quality pre-owned car can save you a lot of money. The industry leaders at Central Auto House all say, let someone else pay for the depreciation while you get a late model, low mileage vehicle to fit your taste and your needs. You'll find sports cars, SUVs, family sedans, trucks, and lots more. The Central Auto House team believes in fair prices and superior service. Check out their current inventory online at centralautohouse.com. That's centralautohaus.com. And test drive the car of your dreams in Dallas at 10550 Plano Road or come to 640 South Central Expressway in Richardson. You'll be impressed by the selection of cars, the financing options available, and their service during and after the sale. Central Auto House is more than a dealership, it's an experience. Central Auto House, Richardson, 972-437-5555, 972-437-5555, or in Dallas, 214-377-9010, 214-3...
We've been fighting the war on drugs for a long time. We answer the phone 24/7, 365 days a year. On a busy night, we answer hundreds of calls. This war on drugs needs our intervention.
Since 2014, Addiction Hope and Helpline has helped people struggling with drugs and alcohol.
When the phone rings, we help people when they need it the most. When we get a caller into treatment, it feels good. It's a blessing.
If you're struggling, drinking, using, and need to get clean, don't suffer alone in silence. Call Addiction Hope and Helpline.
Our people understand, and many are also in recovery. Call for support and strength. You can call for someone who can't or isn't willing. It's an act of love. Together we can help you beat this thing and erase addiction from your vocabulary once and for all.
Call 800-854-1055, 800-854-1055, 800-854-1055.
I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better, all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
Welcome back. We are going to talk about ways to get better if you have dementia or memory loss or Alzheimer's. And if you're a caregiver, how you had to, Dr. Jane Mullins talked about some of the things you need to do about taking care of yourself, number one, and then how to do well with your family member. And Jane, you had some other things that you were going to say, but before you do that, I want to make sure people can get a hold of you. We talked about the book. We talked about the book, FindingTheLightInDementia.com. And we talked, so your website, do you want them to reach you at the Duet Care, Jane at duetcare.co.uk?
Yeah, that's my email. So, but they can also, on my website, FindingTheLightInDementia.com, there's a way they can communicate with me there as well. I sort of encourage people to pop in any positive stories they want to tell, to share for other caregivers as well. Anything that really can help anyone, really, to spread the word of what sort of can help,
That website is so good. There's so much information there. I was very surprised when I went there. I expected just kind of hear about your book and see your picture, and I just went on and on and on and on. There's so much there.
I wonder if that's the problem sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got a blog attached to it, so cover things sort of about what to do if you first get a diagnosis. Yeah. And, which is quite shocking when you first find out. So there's sort of tips and advice, as there are in the book, about, what to do. And certainly, I would certainly recommend keeping well by eating good, healthy foods, be out in fresh air. Certainly, a lot of research now is showing that social connections are very, very important for people. And actually, one of the worst things for health is loneliness and isolation. which I know we're finding in the UK a lot, that actually there are big links with chronic health conditions with people who are actually lonely and isolated.
Yes.
So it's really important that we can actually communicate with people in our communities and help. As I mentioned earlier, there are memory cafes often. In fact, there is a website in the US that advertises memory cafes across all the states.
I'd never
So
heard of
that's
those.
quite a good resource.
So what are memory cafes?
Well, I know in the UK they were generally set up by the Alzheimer's Society, which is sort of the biggest charity over here. But it's about, again, a way of getting people out into the community. It's a little cafe, often run in local churches or local community centres, where people can just come and be sociable. They're not worried about, some of the stigmas that are associated with dementia. Maybe someone's again, they may have trouble communicating or problems with their memory. But when everyone's together in a gentle and kind environment, it doesn't matter so much. So it's very much about, we've been very much about reducing stigma and making more and more people aware. And again, social communities, connections are very, very important in helping slow down the deterioration of people with dementia.
Dr. Mullins just gave me a great thought, an idea. Memory cafe. That's awesome. I don't think we have in the United States at all. That's awesome for them to go to, as I said, churches, ideas, Rotary clubs. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
I think I might have to steal that from you.
Yeah, well, look up on it. There is memory cafes. I don't know his website. Dave and I, we talk a lot. So actually, he's in the US.
Okay, I'll have to do the
I'm
research.
sure if you just type in memory cafes USA,
Okay,
you'll
it's
find
fine.
his
Yeah, I've never
website.
heard it. That's awesome. That's a good thing there. But listen, my friend, I want to thank you very much for what you're doing for memory loss, because with memory loss, there's a lot of history loss for parents, grandparents, for their kids, about their history growing up. I'd love to hear about the Great Depression. And for me, with patients in the hospital, taking care of human lives in America for 40 years at the hospital level, I've got history from the Great Depression back in 1929. I love cars and the Model T Ford. I mean, it's amazing. So I applaud you for what you're doing, and we'll definitely touch base with you moving forward with Miss Ann. Miss Ann, her program is awesome. I also have a program before her, okay? It's called Dr. Mera. Healthcare Begins with You, same station, at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's a pleasure talking to you, ma'am. I'll let you go back to Ann, okay? Thank you much.
And you.
Pleasure.
And you. Take care. Bye.
Hold on.
Jane, when you mentioned that people need to eat well, but I was eating. I had top trainers and top dietitians helping me, and so the eating well part can be hard for people who are trying to eat healthy. And I think that now there's so much more information we found out. So there are places you can Google and find out best diets for memory loss. You can go watch YouTube videos that Dr. Joel Wallach has on YouTube. But understand that getting the fat back in the brain, the cholesterol back in the brain, salt, definitely sleep. And so don't go low fat, low salt, low cholesterol. Don't do that.
Absolutely, and often if there are people who have dementia that aren't eating very well, you can actually add things to their food to give them more nutrition and more fat. So certainly in my book I've got a list of different foods that you can add to, you can add custards, yogurts to fortify their foods that will actually give them more calories as well. Now, for some people that isn't appropriate, because some people, as I say, they might binge eat. So again, it depends on the person's experience and the type of dementia. But often it can be difficult to help a loved one eat and to drink. And I would like to get this in quickly if I can. One amazing innovation
we only have, so I want you to save that because we only have 30 seconds.
Will you?
Yeah, I went fast. It went so fast. I know. And so we will talk more. We will have you on again to continue this conversation. Thanks, everyone, for being